You're listening to Power Talks with Beth Ann and Melody Cedarstrom in the morning, where talk is real, there is truth in the talk, and there is power in truth, and we believe the truth will set you free. Good morning, and welcome, Melody. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, and good morning to everyone. And I forgot to tell you something, Beth.
Oh, okay.
Our opening song is from the movie Quigley Down Under.
My favorite movie, yes.
I watched that this weekend.
You did?
I
What
did.
did you think?
It was a great movie. It was a great movie. I don't know if
it's got some great lines in it.
Yes.
Some great lines in it.
Yes. It was a wonderful movie, and I've been wanting to do it since we started this program because, I always kind of think of the opening music as doo-doop, doo-doop. And I had to watch the movie, and it was a great. So anyone who's a fan of Tom Selleck, I guess, needs to watch Quigley Down Under. It is a good movie.
It is a good movie, and the cowboy comes and saves the day.
Saves the day.
Saves the day against prejudice.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
It's just an awesome movie, and it's an awesome love story. And I love Crazy Cora. I might be a little like Crazy Cora.
I think we all have a little bit of Crazy Cora in us.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
And it doesn't mean I have the same occupation. I wasn't talking about that. Crazy Cora had a little different occupation. But anyway, it's a good movie. A good movie. And, I like movies with happy endings.
But she was not in that occupation by choice.
Huh?
She was not in that occupation.
She was not in that occupation by choice. No, it was a survival. Yeah. And she had some pretty hard times in her life, and that's what led her to be an American stuck in Australia. And then Quigley Down Under comes in there taking up a new job. And the new job was not what he anticipated it to be. And anyway, it's a great movie if you haven't seen Quigley Down Under. And if you have, you like the good old shoot 'em up and that kind of thing, it's a great movie. But it's the cowboy that comes to the cowboy wannabe. The guy that he's working for wants to be a cowboy. And so it's just a great movie, and I love some of the lines in it. It's just great. I don't want to ruin it for anybody because it's just because I've got it memorized. I've watched it so many times, and my kids just roll their eyes. In fact, they got us our DVR was broke, our VHS or whatever you want to call it. Our DVD player was broke, and they got us a new one for Christmas last year. All the kids went together and got us a new one that also has Blu-ray, and they handed me Quigley Down Under in Blu-ray. So they know what their mama likes.
Well, we got a couple of funny little stories to talk about this morning. Well, I got one on sleep deprivation, and you have one on fish. So
I do.
We're in a little bit of a lighter mood, at least for the first part of the program today. So then we'll get you caught up on the news. But they just can't leave Trump alone, can they?
No. The man can't do anything right. Well, I thought you were going to give your story first. Okay, I'll go with mine. I read a book to my children when they were little. It's a Dr. Seuss book, and I was trying to look for it here online real quick, and I think it's Don't Feed the Fish Too Much, or One Fish, Two Fish. I don't remember what it was. Anyway, the little boy was feeding the fish, and he overfed the fish, and when you overfeed the fish got really big, and he had to end up getting him back to small and back into his little goldfish bowl. Well, it was a tradition, I guess, and President Trump is feeding the koi. And I mean, the media went ballistic on this. I mean, here yesterday, we're mourning the loss of so many of our loved ones in Texas. And they're going to go off on him feeding the koi too much. He dumped the whole box of food in the koi pond. But when you watch the entire video, he's following the lead of the Japanese president, Shinzo Abe. I don't know how you say his name. Mm-hmm. And he did the same thing, but they don't show that. They just show Trump looks like he's just being wasteful. He's throwing all this cat food into the koi pond. Now, they probably have absolutely no idea how big the koi pond is or how many koi are in that pond. But anyway, I thought it was just absolutely ridiculous that they went crazy over it. It says a number of journalists on Twitter lambasted President Donald Trump for pouring an entire box of food into a pond of precious Japanese koi. Some even suspected the amount of food could damage the fish. I'm sure they are professionals. I'm sure they know experts on koi.
I'm sure it was measured.
I'm sure.
Bring me that bag of food. I'm going to dump it into the pond.
They both have the same size box.
Good grief.
And I'm fairly certain who gave them this probably said it's okay to give it all, put it all in there. But as the meme spread through the social media, other users joined in, and they're teasing Trump for improper conduct during the photo op on his state visit to Japan, until full video of the incident came out showing Trump was just following the example of Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. And, the fact that they would just go nuts over him feeding the koi is just hysterical and tells me how desperate they are to hate this man. But there was a Dr. Seuss book. I think we should send it to all of those journalists. About feeding the fish too much. Don't feed the fish too much.
Must be a slow news day, I guess. But
well, you wouldn't have thought it was with all that had happened this weekend. But
I guess. But this was reported yesterday, late in the evening, and there was a Dallas man who reportedly traveled to Washington, D.C. for the purpose of killing all white police at the White House, and he was arrested. This is according to the Secret Service.
I heard that.
Says its Protective Intelligence Division was notified around 2:55 yesterday in the afternoon by the Montgomery County Police Department in Maryland to be on the lookout for Michael Arriga. According to the Montgomery County Police, they issued the lookout after being contacted by his wife in Texas about her husband's threatening statements. Police responded to the Days Inn Hotel in Silver Spring where he was staying. They tried to find him, but they couldn't. He wasn't there. The article goes on. They finally located him on the north side of the Pennsylvania Avenue near Lafayette Park, where he was detained and arrested. He was not armed with a weapon when he was taken into custody. So it's an ongoing investigation, and sometimes you have to ask yourself, when everybody wants, if you see something, say something, you get a spouse that's a little upset with hey, my ex is going to D.C. to do this and to do that, and, he gets arrested and blah, blah, blah. And
maybe none of it was true.
Maybe, now, the key thing is if they find out that she did this intentionally, that's, then, she's certainly in trouble. People who make false claims, so certainly should be held accountable. But, so it's kind of interesting, but his purpose, all white police.
I believe that we need to be observant and to recognize, like what had happened there in Florida. The neighbors knew something was going on and they were afraid to report it.
Florida.
Wasn't that in Florida when that guy and his wife shot all those people? That was last year in Florida.
California. Are you talking about the San Bernardino?
Yes. I'm sorry.
San Bernardino?
I'm in the wrong state. Florida was the one that went and shot all the in the gay bar, wasn't it?
The gay bars, yeah.
Okay.
That was Florida. I know they're...
That's pretty bad. We got to keep all our multiple murderers in place here. But the couple that went in there in California,
right? That's San Bernardino.
That did that. The neighbors knew something was going on and didn't report it because they were afraid to. They were afraid of being accused of being a racist or a bigot or whatever. That's what they claimed. They might have been afraid that they would lose their lives. I don't know. And I think we need to be observant and report it if we really suspect something is wrong. But I have a little problem with people always reporting their neighbors.
I do too. Well, the thing of it is, the thing of it is, Beth, in today's world, there's a lot of strange situations. I mean, I could be at an airport. I remember one time in particular, I was at the airport. This was maybe a couple years ago, and there was a bag sitting underneath a chair, a backpack. And I sat there and I watched that backpack I was waiting for the plane probably for an hour, and not one person claimed it. So what do?
Interesting.
And so it's, and I believe just as I was leaving, I did see someone that came and sat down, and, it was, but I was sitting there for probably a good hour while I was waiting for the plane. So in a world we live in today, I mean, it's really hard to,
Did it cross your mind to report?
Absolutely it did. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, and it was probably right after, I think it happened right during those San Bernardino. It was at the same time frame. So, you are kind of a little more aware. And I don't like flying anyway, so, I mean, every person in the plane is, I'm a little paranoid, but hey. Mm-hmm. Paranoid. Someone told me a long time ago, being paranoid, you live longer. So,
just because you're paranoid and you think somebody's talking about you doesn't mean they're not talking about you.
Well, but so we get it. We live in that weird world today. That so it's. I agree with you. It's a very tough. So I can see seeing people acting strange and thinking, well, he's strange, but, what are you going to do? Are you going to report him? It's a tough call.
It is a tough call, and, I would have been probably just like you. I'd have sat there and watched it and thought, should I do this? What should I do? Should I go report it? What am I going to do? Then if it had been somebody like my son that would have walked up, that would have really freaked you out because, he's 6'2" and he's got this full beard on his face.
Well, that wouldn't have bothered me, but I mean, it was just, so it's where do we get to the point? And, the problem that we've seen in Texas, wasn't about reporting him. It really, a big part of it was, somebody dropped the ball.
And I have that in front of me today too, because they keep calling for more and more gun control. And like I said yesterday, it's not gun control we need. We need to allow God to be in control. Yes. And evil is evil. And my son called me yesterday to talk about something else, but we talked a little bit about that. And he said, Mom, it doesn't matter what their reason for doing this is. Evil is evil. And he said, the evil one has only one goal, and that's to take out God's people. And but anyway, he should not have had a gun. And when he left the service, they were supposed to have put that in the database on his report so that he would not be able to buy a gun, and it got dropped. And therefore, he bought guns legally. But that's not to say, had they not done their job, he wouldn't have gone and got them illegally. It would have made an extra step or two for him, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't have still gotten it and done what he did. But yes, they dropped the ball, and they shouldn't have. It should have been flagged. He shouldn't have been able to go buy a gun. He's definitely a bad guy. Definitely was a bad guy. He beat his little kid. And,
broke his skull.
Yes.
And they also
that makes you want to put his head on the pavement, just go bang.
Yeah. And he was also cruel to animals, I believe. He does have all the history there. But again, you can't go back. What we see now, you can't go back.
You can't go back.
No.
But more gun control is not going to stop.
It's not going to work.
More gun control, perhaps guns within the church. That might have stopped. But I don't know. He came in and shot him from behind. We're going into a break. Your calls are welcome at 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218 in Melody and Beth Ann with Power Talks. We'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Yuji. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. The number to call if you want to join in our conversation so far is 717-300-12.
Hello?
Hello. I think we're back.
Yeah, but I lost both of you. I lost both the station and you. The station came back, said it was you.
Oh, they're blaming me, are they? But I'm here, right?
Yes.
Okay, we're here. I was asking you what you had, and then I was grabbing my articles to see what I could start with. But you had something you were going to share, didn't you?
Yes. Well, we are back from break.
Yes, we are.
And we were talking about Trump and his koi fish situation and so forth. And there was an article that I saw came out yesterday afternoon. Sleep deprivation stops brain cells communicating properly and affects how people see the world around them. This is a new study by scientists at the University of California in memory and vision. And, of course, we were talking about we didn't think this was anything new to those liberals or to Nancy Pelosi. I think we're still having technical problems.
I think we are, because you're going in and out on me. So keep going.
And so we were kind of had a little chuckle or two about this article. Everybody knows that if you deprive your body of sleep, it's not healthy for you, and it certainly can affect the way you view the world. But maybe that's why Nancy Pelosi is having difficulty speaking of late, as we've seen many videos of her trying to kind of like I am right now, and
come up with her words.
Yes.
Well,
I'm multitasking. I'm multitasking, so. But
that's my fault. Yeah, she has trouble coming up with her words. I do too. So I can only. It is kind of comical when she does that.
But and there are, when we talk about mental illness, it all has to come down with sleep, and there's a lot of research on sleep that it's definitely 8 hours you need, and if you rob your body of that sleep, it's not healthy for you, for all different situations. So. But we had a little chuckle prior to the show, and we wanted to bring it to the listeners, too.
It's, of course, when we come on and start talking before the show, we're always talking about how tired we are, and we stayed up late doing this or that, watching the news, and we're sleep deprived. So that was another reason for the chuckle. Last week, you had mentioned that you were shocked to see Tom Steyer, or however you pronounce his name, ad to impeach Trump on Fox.
Yeah, they canned it.
They canned it.
Yeah.
They said, what was wrong with them? They must have got paid a bunch of gob of money to do that. But, they played it during the shows that they know that President Trump watches, the ones he says are his favorite on Fox. I think one is Fox and Friends. And anyway, yes, they canned it. They said, what were they thinking? They had a lot of complaint, I guess, from their viewers, from their fans of the Fox and Friends and Fox in general. So, it's comical because I was looking for this article, and if you look at it from one of the mainstream media's point of view, and how they were saying he laid out his plan. He laid out his plan and had points of his accusations. No, he didn't. They generalize. We think he's nuts. We think it's this. We think it's that. They didn't say think, but it's kind of like the koi. It's kind of like the feeding the fish too much. They make these accusations. Well, he's definitely been colluding with the Russians. There's been no proof to that, and they'll get out there and say that. Of course, now maybe she's gotten a little more sleep. Nancy Pelosi has said we need to stop talking about impeachment.
She said that?
Yes.
Oh. All right.
Well, why do you
Point
think
proven. Point proven.
Why do you think she wants to do that? It's because it's not going to be healthy for their reelection.
That's correct.
That's the reason.
In fact, today is election day across this country.
Yes, it is. It is election day here.
And we do have a caller. We have Ivan calling us.
Ivan,
Pennsylvania. Good morning, Ivan.
Yes, good morning, ladies. How are you today?
We're good. What's on your mind, sir?
Okay. Yeah, I just want to bring up an issue which is, I think, very dramatic, which is happening in Saudi Arabia and Lebanon.
The arrests.
And they arrested 11 princes and 39 high position people.
Right.
So, and what the intent is, and for what I see, is that it's being aimed at Iran, because Iran, they are blaming Iran that Yemen was shot a ballistic missile into the airport at Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. And now, also a couple of days before, the premier of Lebanon left Lebanon and resigned his position in Saudi Arabia on their TV. So that is really very, very unusual. And I've seen some. I was just scanning through some new news, and they said that Lebanon declared war on Saudi Arabia, and I couldn't confirm it yet. I was just kind of going through, and that was a headline there. But this is very critical because, one, if the position, if both Saudis and as well as Israel, which is they are hip joined with Saudis, in the Middle East, and the other petro countries, which are also blaming Iran for the problems, and of course now they closed everything, all the airports as well as in Yemen, so that they cannot import. Nothing is totally isolated from the world. And, they have cholera cases, close to 1 million people, 900,000 people so far have cholera in Yemen. And they were saying that probably it was spread by their bombs, by Saudi Arabia bombs, in order to demoralize the people. So the other thing which will impact definitely will be the oil. It climbed to 57. I don't know what it is now because I didn't have a chance to check it out. But if something breaks, and I would say if it breaks, it'll break within the next couple of months, a war against Iran, because they tried ISIS to dislodge both Iraq and Syria, and of course Libya is of course already destroyed. So but Syria, they wanted Syria definitely to be destroyed by now, but due to the Russian influence, it was not. So the whole purpose now is to accelerate the destruction of Iran. The only problem is that Iran has a mutual pact with, I think, both with China and with Russia. If it is attacked, that they will come to their aid. So it can very quickly accelerate into a third world war. But
I had an article on these arrests, but I haven't had a chance to get some more information. I did not know what you're telling us. I didn't know some of that was going on. But this article that I have is kind of saying that some of these royalties that have been arrested, in particular, and I know I'm going to pronounce the name wrong, bin Talal, is real closely knitted in with some of the things that the Clinton Foundation and that took place even with the Uranium One deal. So I thought that's going to be interesting to see how that ends up playing out.
That's true, and also I think he's one of the richest guys. I think in Saudi,
right?
And he has ties. I mean, all over. To Russia, to other countries too. But the other thing is that the head of the guard also was arrested. So it was in essence, it was a coup which took place because what happened, the father gave the son the crown in essence, and he's consolidating his power by eliminating all the pretenders or princes who would be should be the ones which would have been in before this king's son would be taking over.
It says here that the arrest came from the new anti-corruption committee headed by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
Yeah,
Salman,
that's a son.
Who's 31. Okay.
Yeah, he's a son of the king, but now he, in essence, is a prince with a crown, you know.
Okay.
But the intent was that what he did, they put anybody who makes some false thing is corrupt, and that's a quick, label they can put on a person and arrest him, corruption, But that's what many dictators do if they want to consolidate their power, okay? They arrest them under, corruption cases, etc., and it's just a cover, for them to...
Their corruption is the same when our government goes after people for money laundering and tax evasion.
Yeah. Well...
But, today there was a report that came out that the Houthis in Yemen, they're looking at all airports, ports, border crossings, areas of any importance to Saudi Arabia and the UAE will be a direct target of their weapons, which is a legitimate right. So, there is a lot of statements that show that with the missile launch from Iran, that there is an act of war against the Saudis that looks like it's beginning. Now, I'm not quite sure what's going to stop it, what is going to keep it from escalating.
Right.
Well, actually, the missile came out of Yemen, not out of Iran, but they said it was a Iranian missile. I don't know how they can.
That's right.
I guess that's what they are saying, and by giving Yemenis, Houthis, these rockets, Iran is complicit with Yemen, and in essence, like you said, on a war footing with Saudi. But, with this Hariri, who was the premier of Lebanon, leaving Lebanon and going to Saudi, where he said that he was being threatened in Lebanon already. So, that doesn't smell right, that there is more to this. I think what the intent is, like I said, the Israeli plan is going very slow. They wanted to have the greater Israel, which is part from Euphrates to Nile. Okay, that's what they call Ezra Israel, which means greater Israel. And they did not achieve it because Syria is part of it, Iraq is part of it, and so is Egypt, part of the greater Israel. So now they are accelerating it against Iran. They might think that nobody will come to help, and they can knock out that power first. And then, because I think it would be good to watch if Melania Trump will leave the conference, and maybe other ladies from different countries who will be meeting in Vietnam and in other, and also I guess he's in South Korea, President Trump. But if she leaves, to me it will be an indication that he let her go ahead to prepare, because they have their son, of course, here in school, and other people of their sons, other sons, and the daughter.
Well, they sent Ivanka home. Ivanka came back to
the
States.
Okay.
Yes, she did.
She did.
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
She was the claim was that she came back to push for the tax reform in Congress.
Yeah, well, they'll have cover stories for anything. Yeah, believe it, yeah. But this is the whole thing. I mean, if they are sending their wives home or models or whatever, is that they can prepare to leave. That something is upcoming, and the main thing which I say would be the attack on Iran by Saudi and possibly Israeli forces, okay, or UAE and all these, Kuwait. But I think, if Iran is attacked, I'm sure that China or Russia will step in, so this is very, very critical. I don't think that people realize what's really taking place, but it's the schedule has accelerated, and they are waiting for to start. I guess the World War III eventually.
You know what, you mentioned Lebanon, and you know what, I heard on a talk show this morning, I did get the complete conversation, but that's what they were talking about, that Lebanon is key in all of this, and it really sets a dangerous precedence when it comes to Lebanon. And so that is a big deal. And
it is. People don't realize it, how close we are to, and then, I don't know, I read some emails and some things from some of my friends, and they indicate that Obama is the only one who stayed as a ex-president in D.C., or they all left to their ranches or whatever they had, and building libraries and stuff like that. But he is there, and from what I understand, he has about 30,000 people or troops or whatever you call him. And when he was running, I don't know if you remember, he was saying that we need to build an internal army, which is as strong as a regular army, So
yeah, I think I have that quote. Hang on a second. I think I even have that quote. Give me 2 seconds here. I'll get to it. It may be on my other computer.
That's fine.
But I had that. I used it. What's that?
I said, but as long as you remember, he was saying that. So I just wonder if he is not creating, to upset, in case we go into the war or prior to upset the internal, internal status of the U.S. Now, some people might not, but there is one fellow who in fact, I talked to Melody about it yesterday, Roger Stone, and he indicated, and like I say, I heard good things and bad things about him, that by December, Trump will be out of the office. So I don't know. This is all speculation. I watched him on a video where he stated that, and so. Things are coming to the boil, So.
I think so too. I mean, there's just too many things going on. You see in all these countries that are positioning themselves, and when you really look at it, you have China, who has written their leader into their constitution. He has more power than anyone since Mao
Zedong.
Yeah. You had Turkey, who he has been able to change their constitution.
Yeah.
You have now Saudi Arabia, who's kicking out of all the heads, other for lack of a better term, heads of states or people of power. So he's changing their constitution. He's changing the way they're doing business anymore. And then you have North Korea, who has been coming out with a stronger voice in the past year. He was always there. He was always a thorn in the side but not to the degree he has been in this past year. You have a lot of things going on, and you have a lot of changes. And you know what? These changes don't take place without conflict. And plus you have to remember the agenda behind the elite, the agenda behind, everything else, whether they're pushing towards this, whether they're creating this, but the fact of the matter is, we're in dangerous times. And I said yesterday that I thought this stuff going on with Saudi Arabia, I think is really, really, really important. And no one's talking about it.
Yeah,
and whether we see a reaction tomorrow, maybe not, but it's coming.
Yeah.
Here's the quote
I fully agree that we are in a very treacherous waters, and
very, very much. And we're hearing an awful lot even on their economies as well. This is the quote from President Barack Obama, and this is when he ran the first time for president.
Right.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong, just as well funded as the United States military.
Yep, right. Yeah, that's exactly how I
and
remember
yet
it.
they don't want the American people to have a militia to be well.
Well armed. Yeah. But anyway,
you can't have an AK or an AR. You can't have that. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Ivan, thank you for educating us a bit. Appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that I had the opportunity, to call in, and we'll see what happens the next week or two. Like Melody said, I think we are. Very difficult times and very critical times, So.
And we're headed into a break. Thank you, Ivan, so very much. We're headed into a break. The number to call is 717-300-1218, and we'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded. It has been borrowed. It has been purchased. It has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned to listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, and we've had some issues staying connected this morning. If you'd think it was Monday, we've had some difficulty with that, but we are here right now, and the number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. I've been hearing a lot of things, and
we do have a caller.
Oh, I'm sorry. We do have a caller. We have Joe. Joe from Arkansas. Joe, how are you today?
Well, staying dry enough so far. How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I wanted to mention that this man, Devin Kelly, that did the shooting at the church in Texas the other day, I heard it reported on another radio show yesterday that he had been on psychiatric drugs since he was a teenager. And this is a common feature in all these crazy mass shootings. All of them have been on these psychiatric drugs, and especially the SSRI antidepressant seems to be the main one that drives people, to do this kind of thing. In fact, it is well known that one of the side effects, so-called, of these drugs is that they do make a lot of people violent and suicidal. And they've been on the market since the late 1980s. And since the late 1980s, we have seen a proliferation of these crazy mass shootings in the United States. Whereas before that, we did not have them. And the psychiatrists have a long history of prescribing very addictive and dangerous drugs as antidepressants. Like Freud and the psychiatrists of his era prescribed cocaine as an antidepressant. Then when it got clear how dangerous and addictive that was, that was taken off the market and taken off the so-called above-ground market. And, of course, it's now widely available on the underground market, on the underground black market. And then they started prescribing, then the methamphetamines were invented. And so psychiatrists for quite some time prescribed those very commonly as antidepressants and talked about how wonderful they were. And then when it became clear how dangerous and addictive those were, they were taken off the, medical psychiatric market. Hello?
Right
Hello?
here. We're listening to you.
Yeah, okay. I heard a beep. I keep hearing a beep. Something strange is kind of going on the line. I keep hearing a beep.
It is.
But anyway, the methamphetamines were, outlawed for the purpose of antidepressant psychiatric drugs. And so then for a while the drug of choice was Valium, which is another addictive and dangerous drug. And now in the late 1980s, of course, Prozac and the other SSRI antidepressants came on the market. And so they have been, some people say that they're prescribed like candy. It seems like the medical profession wants to get as many people as possible taking SSRI drugs for one reason or another. And so, like I said, they're well known to cause people to become crazy and violent and suicidal. And so it wouldn't be, and of course this guy, when he was in the military, he was discharged for beating up his wife and children, I believe, and it wouldn't be at all far-fetched to think that probably the psychiatric drugs that he was on, had some role in making him violent so that he would beat up his family, because that's not anything that any kind of a normal man would do. And so personally, I think that the powers that be, want to keep these drugs on the market and want to keep prescribing as many as possible to as many people as possible, because they want these kinds of incidents to happen so that they have a reason to scream for gun control. And, they figure that if these mass shootings go on and on and on and on and on, and they keep screaming for gun control every time, then it'll eventually wear down the resistance of the American people, and they'll get what they want that way. So personally, I think that's probably what's happening here.
Well, I know that there's an awful lot of money being made in the pharmaceutical business when they lobby up in Congress and they okay some of their drugs. And next thing you know, it comes out, well, this drug causes death. But many of the warning signs, when you hear them give those commercials on TV, it does talk about suicide and violent reactions to that, and apparently they didn't see his violence. Beating his wife and breaking the skull of his child didn't promote enough violence. I guess they had to give him more drugs, but he's definitely was a not a person you wanted to be around. But so I agree.
Did he get thrown in jail for the abuse of his?
He was in the brig or whatever they call it for quite a while.
For his wife and child?
Yes. I think they said a year.
When we talk about drugs, we're talking about prescription drugs and so forth. But I think, too, in addition to, we have a drug culture in this country. And, we have, we're getting legalized marijuana from state to state. We have, the various other drugs, the opioids and things like that are becoming an everyday, occurrence, an everyday situation. And you also wonder that when you combine the two and so forth, how much more of a potent effect that it has on the behaviors of those that are taking the psychotropic type drugs. So,
right.
It's we certainly are in a drug cultural.
And people have accepted it so much.
Yeah.
They just don't think anything about going and getting these drugs and putting themselves on it. Because life is hard to deal with sometimes. And I think I told the story when my father died. My mother had Alzheimer's. I had a sister-in-law that was near death, and she might have already passed away at this time. I'm trying to remember. Was dealing with a lot of things. I had a younger brother that was an alcoholic and got himself in trouble, and just all kinds of things I was dealing with. And I went to the doctor for something else altogether. But she knew some of what I was going on, and she wanted to put me on antidepressant, and I said no. I said, this is life. I've got to deal with it. I'm not going to go. And I'm not trying to put anybody else down that makes that decision. But, that was it was just a rough time that I was going through. And it was hard to deal with. But we made it through. And I had a lot of love and support around me with my family. But it was just tough times. And but, a lot of people would, instead of trying to deal with it themselves, they'll just go to the drug, and a doctor will, she really wanted to put me on an antidepressant, and I said no, I'm not going. I said I'm not having that kind of problem. I said I was having a little trouble sleeping and some other things, but it was all on me at once. And, I just didn't, I said, no, this is something I have to deal with. I don't want to go on any kind of medication to help me deal with it. Not at this point in time anyway, But, so they're really anxious to get you on those drugs.
They really.
Go
ahead, Joe.
Yeah, okay. But then, I tell you, it's real nice to hear of somebody else that refused to take one of those drugs, too, besides myself. Because when I was a teenager, I was depressed a lot. And my parents sent me to see a doctor for help. And this doctor prescribed Valium. And, I didn't know all that much at the time, but my healthy instincts told me, no, you don't want to get on this stuff. And so, so the doctors gave me some of these Valium pills and gave me a prescription and told me how to take them and everything. And as soon as I was out of his office, I threw the Valium pills in the nearest garbage can and didn't get the prescription filled and went to see him again. But, I was smart enough even back then, I guess, to figure that whatever problems I had, getting addicted to a dangerous drug was not going to make the problems better. It was just going to give me another problem, even worse. Right. So it's good to hear of somebody else that refused to take those drugs.
Yeah, I refuse to go on it.
But you know what I mean, and there are various degrees of situations where the medications do help people, and even so you can't say that it is a very difficult situation.
It's not the same for everyone.
It's not the same.
That's true.
It's not the same for everyone.
But I don't think it should be the first. I don't think it should be the first choice. I think there's some
it's the suitability and the problem. We have to go back to, who is prescribing these medications. They're the ones that are supposed to be helping the person that comes to them for the reasons that they do, to have a better understanding of their patient, but instead they treat patients like, how many can I see in a day, and bring them in, bring them out, prescribe them some pills. I get kickbacks from pharmaceutical companies, and hey, everybody becomes wealthy on the poor guy that comes in, probably needs help or he wouldn't be there. And again, I'm not saying this is all doctors, but obviously we have a problem, so it must be happening more and more frequently. So again, I go back to the doctor and not treating the patients in the manner that they should.
It's the microwave era we live in. We want a quick fix for everything. And I hear the music. My goodness, that we're out of time today. We had some other things to talk about. I guess we'll bring them up tomorrow. You've been listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. And Joe, we appreciate your call. We will be back here tomorrow morning, same place, same time.
Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn, the Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.